NYC Parks Rangers be on the lookout. He was last seen flying south on 5th Avenue. Rescuers are trying to capture the Eurasian eagle owl after vandals set him free from the Central Park Zoo Thursday night by cutting the stainless steel mesh at his enclosure. Zoo staff located the owl, stayed with it throughout the night. Emergency services officers attempted to get it in a cage, but the owl flew off.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't hear. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear. The thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and a warm welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, in the spirit of Easter, we are going to look at a couple of cases that this channel doesn't normally look at. In this case, investigation into the disappearance of Flaco the owl. Flaco, a giant Eurasian eagle owl, was busted out of New York's Central Park Zoo when a vandal deliberately cut through the steel mesh of Flaco's cage. That was more than a year ago in February 2023. Over the next weeks and months, authorities failed to capture and seize Flaco, despite numerous sightings in and around Manhattan. Birders and other experts were concerned that Flaco would struggle to survive after living for such a long time. I think he lived something like 12 years in captivity and had not developed, they thought, his hunting skills and flying skills in that time. Well, Flaco surprised them. Within about a week, he had already caught his first rat. Even so, the concern was certainly justified. A big city certainly doesn't seem like the perfect place for a bird like this. And one of the concerns was that the food of this bird, rats, could be infected with, poisons and all that sort of thing. Also, when the attempts to capture the bird failed, two things happened. First of all, there was a petition that said, can he be allowed to stay where he is, which was ultimately, I think it was accepted. And the other thing was Flaco became a celebrity. Weeks turned into months, months turned into almost a year, and Flaco seemed to be making the most of living dangerously. He became something of a catch-me-if-you-can celebrity to New Yorkers, and then he suddenly disappeared in February this year, almost on the anniversary of when he busted out of jail. While the New York Post pieced a timeline and a map of Flaco's last sightings, as time went by it became clear something serious had happened to Flaco. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind, on the Team Peachtree channel, I'll be putting up something different, something special, a Timmy's POV. I strapped a GoPro to Timmy's back, and so you'll get a sense of what it is like when he went for his last walk. So just a little bit of fun during this sort of holiday period. If you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, the worst fears were realized when Flaco's body was discovered in an alley at the foot of a building on Manhattan's west side.
An outpouring of grief around the world over the death of Flaco the owl. News of the Eurasian eagle owl's passing Friday spread fast amongst saddened bird watchers who built a community around catching a glimpse of him flying around the city.
I felt like I was going to a funeral this morning.
According to NBC News, people in the building contacted the World Bird Fund, and members of the Rehabilitation Center picked up the unresponsive bird around 7 p.m., according to the zoo. Flaco was declared dead shortly afterward and transferred to the Bronx Zoo for a necropsy. On Saturday, the Central Park Zoo released a statement on initial findings, which it said are consistent with death due to acute traumatic injury, such as hitting a building. The main impact appears to have been to the body, it said. end quote. Now, the zoo has said that collisions with buildings in New York kill more than 200,000 migratory birds annually. Think about that. Anyway, now a month later, toxicology and the results of a necropsy, that's an animal autopsy, have been released. The results are troubling, surprising, and also to some extent somewhat predictable. According to the Washington Post, a necropsy exam later revealed that at the time of his death, Flaco had a herpes virus from eating feral pigeons and had consumed 4 rodenticides used for rat control. So it had 4 different poisons in its system. And that is according to what the Wildlife Conservation Society said in a statement. Paul Cale, the Wildlife Conservation Society's chief veterinarian, told the Washington Post that the virus, the rat poisons, and the injuries Flaco suffered after flying into a building might have all contributed to the 13-year-old Eurasian eagle owl's death. Sadly, they're all things that we've seen in the past, Cale said. They're kind of some of the risks that wildlife have when they live in the city, end quote. Now, one does have to wonder if life is so hazardous, even poisonous, for wild things in our big cities. How healthy are they for us? According to the Washington Post, the Wildlife Conservation Society said in a statement, at the time that the person who damaged Flaco's exhibit was responsible for his death. A spokesman for the New York Police Department told the Post on Tuesday that officers are still searching for the perpetrator, and so it's still an ongoing investigation.
No arrests were ever made, and the investigation is ongoing. The Wildlife Conservation Society frequently attempted and failed to recapture Flaco.
That it's safe to break out of your cage. And towards the end of his life, he was actually watching us in our cages.
On February 23rd, 2024, about a month ago today, Flaco was found on the ground on West 89th Street, seriously injured. The herpes virus that he was infected with may have damaged his internal organs. It could have also debilitated him and also impacted his ability to fly and to navigate between the buildings. In other words, it could have led to the fatal collision. In terms of his legacy, Flaco's death brought additional scrutiny, this is according to Wikipedia, to the issue of building standards. And so a bill in the New York legislature to require more bird-friendly design in buildings statewide was renamed the Flaco Act on February 26th, the Monday after Flaco's death. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.